up around the front too. And then we can so kiss me and smile for me. Tell me that you'll wait for me. Hold me like you'll never let me go. What? I'm leaving. There's so many times I've let you down. So many times there's a shuttle bus. I think it's Washington to the Dulles Airport. That's the two planes. And then there's some planes up there. Tuesday, we're still nice.
This is where you're going to take off from.
And if you keep on taping down there, there's some jets down there. That's the Russian. Yeah.
That one right there?
Yeah.
So that airplane will be okay.
We'll go past.
We'll go past.
The Russian plane is down there. Keep over there, that's a good plane. I guess that they took it off except there was one German one standing back there, except there was this one army one. There was go up there, look at this German plane. Here. See, look right there. That's the Russian one. See the thing on the tail? And then there's one coming right there. David, that's Russian.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't.
What'd she say?
Be afraid.
I'll go in their car. Me too. No, David. No. She had
Only here by special permit. When'd you come out?
they got the popcorn.
This is the way we normally go anyway. We don't have to.
Isn't this nice? Couldn't see the Hi.
You know, every city has its rundown section, but it's amazing how big the area is, you know.
There's always steps.
Hey, Joe, did you take that? I got my map. Okay, what do you want to like go to these last or go to this other stuff that closes, or what time is everything closed? So we kind of
I were laughing and said, Mike, you a vet? I said, yeah, let's go over and talk to this guy. How about it?
What?
the other end of the reflecting pool.
Yeah, these are a customer.
Don't allow
Yeah.
it to land in the warehouse. The state bring it in. The other end of the reflecting pool is cement, clear, set up.
Mom, let's get that toward the White House.
Hold it right there. Hold it. Hold it. Get your mother over back. Get back. Hi. Get back. Yeah. I didn't get the other one.
But I don't think that operates on the steam.
Oh, when yeah.
1866. Yeah, it would have to, yeah. All of these, I remember, you know what
Mommy, a big one. Mommy, the big going. Mom. They probably shot this boat. They probably shot us, but you're in the way. To make it safe.
That's a missing. Top missing sail, each sail across the And those are stay sails right there, those are jib. The jib is also the new.
Oh, shoot.
And then it's very authentic. Yes. Yes.
I think he took her into the. Then if you want to.
I think that's what the steady now, because the planes are flying over, they're steadying the horses to some noise. Well, they have to.
Talks about it all the time.
I take a picture of somebody walking in front of me.
Want to go up on the deck, second deck?
house.
Oh, that's...
He and Martha. They did their thing here.
Oh, him and Martha. Okay. Let's go see what they did.
Yeah.
Let's go see what they did.
Go ahead. Start walking.
Take a picture of it here, in front of it. And Dad, like you know, kind of just... Well, I do want to know what gives. Yeah. Go ahead. Come on.
Want to make it look authentic.
What you have to do is wave the mic. Did you wave the mic?
Hi, Ann.
Yeah, everybody forgot about her.
Hi, Joe. Hi, boys, and hi, girls.
On each side. That'll give you an idea of how the house looked for 1857. The south wing was built in the 1770s, the north wing in the 1780s. So it was built as it stands now over a period of more than 50 years. It's built entirely out of wood, and it's kind of interesting as you see the siding. It's just yellow pine, but it was beveled and painted and then sanded to give it the look and feel of stone, and that's what you're seeing today. It is original. That process was called rusticating, and it was an excellent way of preserving the wood as well as enhancing the appearance of the house. So you can just go on down the sidewalk. You'll start right in the first door at the end of the red walk. We do ask that you don't use your camera.
I see it. That's what's really interesting about this house. They have the front door, you know, from the land side, and then this part is the front door from the riverside. So you came up the western and this side of the house. By horse, she came up that other side.
Yeah, we gotta go
Tomorrow morning, we leave early.
Your video camera stopped flashing.
I know, we're gonna go there. Don't worry about it.
Stand down here by the tray.
Well, where's everybody?
The dining room, where the dishes are. They leave it in there until they're ready to eat. Can you? This house here is where the overseer of the plantation lived. He was the one who ran the plantation before he came. Let's go back.
Talk so I can hear it.
I know my aunt did too. Well, that's how we used to iron. We put the iron on the stove and heat the iron and put the iron. Because we didn't have electricity.
Oh, the milk.
They did good stuff for the set.
Overseer had just this room to live in. Is there a fireplace in there?
Ferry down there. Hey.
It's big too, isn't it? Oh, they got that meat up there.
getting smoked.
How did it do this in the Sunday, didn't you? Definitely. Oh my gosh. Do anything in here.
On the back porch and let the air blow.
It was a big mansion, Sarah Parker Estate, and they have up in the upstairs attic a big, huge dresser where you can wash your shoes. You know, it has something to do with fire.
Waxing.
Yeah, fire.
It smells like horses. The two tall trees on the side of the house were planted by George Washington. That's beautiful. But it was a lot of work taking care of this place.
Scared to open it up. What is that? This is what he bade the people, right? But this is what he bade the people? This is what he bade the people, right? You mean you could open it?
Well, it's real.
Come back quickly and take them back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
From the graveyard.
I'm bouncing all over the place.
That's all right. You don't bounce it down.
Too much.
If you go over there farther, you can see one of these castles. I think, no, it doesn't show the castle on here. There's this one, it looks like a base over there. It's made out of stone, and it looks like the castle, the top of the castle. It's farther down there. It has stones up there. Hey, Mike, hey, Steve. Hi, Ann. Hey, Tommy, like, you walk up the hill from Monassis?
Where do you want us to be, Amber?
Here, give me my hand. Hammer.
Towel John's here.
Go in here, Dad. Yeah.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Get air conditioning.
Little building up on the top up there.
See the little building on the top? Neat. Look at all these people. Are we ever going to get up there? Is that enough, Mom? Is that enough, Mom?
Yeah, just gotta take one of it.
Hello, it's me. Hi, Ann. It's me again. Hi, Ann. Hi, Mike.
That's nothing.
Hi, Joe. Hi, Tom.
Hey.
Hi, Steve.
How's she got it going?
I'm feeding it.
The outside gate. Now this tram will make 3 stops. The first, the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. The second, Arlington House. And the third, the Kennedy grave sites. We do work like a shuttle service. In other words, you can get off at a stop and stay as long as you'd like and then just catch the next tram that comes by. Trams do come frequently, about every 15 minutes. You do need to hold on to your tickets. They are your reboarding pass. Now on this part of your journey, my name is Claire and I'm your narrator, and our driver is James. For the last 100 years, Arlington has served as a cemetery, but it has not always been such. Originally, George Washington Parke Custis built Arlington House to hold mementos of his beloved foster grandfather, George Washington. Now, George Washington Parke Custis had one of 4 children to reach maturity. Her name was Mary Ann Randolph Custis. And in 1831, Mary Ann married her childhood sweetheart and West Point graduate, Lieutenant Robert Lee. They were married as Apollo of Arlington House and lived happily in Arlington House for the next 30 years until 1861. But at that time, the Civil War had broken out. Robert Lee felt he could not fight his beloved Virginia, his friends, and his family. He therefore resigned his commission in the U.S. Army and moved his family to Richmond, Virginia. The family was never again to return to Arlington House. After the Lee family moved to Richmond, the Army took over Arlington House and imposed a tax on it. Mrs. Lee sent an agent to pay the taxes, but they would not accept them, saying that she in fact had to show in person. Now this was impossible. She could not cross the Confederate lines. The Lee family lost Arlington House to back taxes for the total sum of $92.07. Years later, after their death, their son sued the government. He wanted his family land back. And he did in fact win when this went to the United States Supreme Court. There was one problem. Over 1,000 burials had already taken place. So the government compensated George Washington Parke Custis Lee $150,000 for the Arlington House in the area around you. And to your left, up over the hill, not viewable from the tram, are buried Virgil Grissom and Roger Chaffee. They were lost in the Apollo 1 1967 launch pad disaster. Now here in Arlington, there are many different sections, and one such section is a memorial section. In a few moments on your left-hand side, you will see a group of white headstones placed close together on the hill. If you read the headstones, you'll find they all say in memory of. Now there are no bodies buried here. It's for those who lost their lives, either in the sea or in the air. Now our first stop is the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, and there are 4 unknowns buried here. One from World War I, buried Armistice Day 1921, one from World War II, one from the Korean conflict, and one from the Vietnam conflict. The tomb itself is very simple yet elegant in its design. It's an 8-foot-high sarcophagus with only one inscription, which reads, "Here rests, in honored glory, an American soldier known but to God." The tomb of the unknown soldier is guarded by the Old Guard. The Old Guard takes 21 paces across the tomb and waits 21 seconds. This is to symbolize the 21-gun salute, or the 21 military ranks. The changing of the card occurs every 30 minutes on the half hour and the hour. Here you can also see the gravesite of Audie Murphy, the most decorated soldier from World War II. That's the U-shaped path on your left. If you walk on that path, you'll see a small American flag next to his headstone. To get to the changing of the guard, you want to walk around the back of the amphitheater. To reboard, it's directly ahead by the benches.
Think, Jim?
The president does it here?
Yeah, when they have Memorial Day services for the war dead.
Huh.
President Weinberger, whoever, seen the president. This is where they did the services for the unknown for Vietnam.
Just think everybody's taking this picture. Just think everybody's taking this picture. He must count.
He does.
Is this unknown Marines or what? Huh? Somebody put flowers there. You have to do that all day long. Hey, does he have to do that all day long?
Oh yeah, for his shift.
They do it in their shifts.
What's he have, 1 hour each one?
I think that's what it is. Might change it in the summer a little more.
Or every half hour? They're changing the guard every half hour.
I wish they should. God, that's too much on one.
It is if it's hot out there.
Well, he's got shade there where he's at.
Right now it is.
What about the middle of the day?
She went up the steps to take a picture. Don't mind her. She wants a closer picture of him.
I just saw it land. I mean, a big one. So I'm staying here till I see one. I like that crystal lamp right there. Is that pretty? Yeah.
Sir, I'm closing the doors right now if you'd like to come in.
It's eternal flame. Never goes out.
The next bridge, but the bridge after that. The second bridge down is the one that, wait a minute. After it's convertible, go ahead, Joe. This yo-yo is going to stop though. Okay, you guys went out by the memorial, or you want to walk over it?
We'll walk over it.
Basically, go the same way that we went before, you know what I'm talking about? Not the next bridge, but the bridge on the other side of that one is the one that the Air Florida hit.
It is?
I think right, stay in left-hand lane.
That way?
Left-hand, yeah. This one okay, or you went all the way over?
They come in that way? They always have this big, whatever, statue.
Is David in here?
Yeah, he went home.
Don't let the boys see those naked girl women up there.
We already saw.
They looked real good.
These signs. Our Park is 9:30.
Sì, c'era la separata.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Ann. Hi, Steve. Hi, Joe. Hi, Mike. Hi.
You forgot somebody.
Hi, Tom. Hi, Tom. I forgot you.
Just run that bill.
I forgot you. Hi, Tom.
Good turn up.
Looking straight down. You want to go by Iwo Jima and back up? You want to see him? Okay, get in the center line. Center line. You want to bear to the right and back to the left. You look straight ahead where the flag is. That's
Nothing else except for trees.
go 50 west.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. On the river. Okay, you want to stay in the right-hand lane. On the thing down the left, yeah.
There's the window right there.
Take 50 to watch.
There it is.
Follow the route for 66. We're getting around.
Picture the air.
Hope you have enough gas to hold up for it. This may be a while. Yeah, I've been here before. Just go down to I'm in the office here. Otherwise, I take
Which way do you want me to get?
far left, yeah.
First go that way. I think it.
Just follow it straight out.
Okay, that's the other side.
Anyway, down there and under the bridge, they have the old boathouses.
Down on the other side.
Isn't that the Watergate next to the Kennedy Center?
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah, this is where get the wooden bridge.
Nice deep kind of got all the bricks on there. Buddies over in the water.
Here come some people. I'm gonna say hi to them.
I used to live around the water.
Where?
Right straight down below.
Oh yeah, I see.
Right over top the tree.
Yeah. All those rocks are
love to have a house sitting right here, wouldn't you?
That's what I said.
Oh my gosh.
It's like they're putting rooms in here.
Oh yeah.
You have a motor and you're not using it? George Washington.
Right on the mountain more than half.
Statue of George Washington on the side.
Tell her what it is, girl.
Harper's Ferry.
Harper's Ferry.
Oh, that was a good
This is the town of Harper's Ferry.
What happened?
Gary lives there. Oh, here's a funny kid shop.
Wants us out?
Yeah. The grandma said go down, you don't fill it up. Okay, Peggy.
I'm fading it. Cross.
Kind of get up too, you know, like on the house. We gotta wait here.
There's more gift shops in that town.
They're shoppers, they're not lookers.
I love this.
Yeah, the kids love it.
As a young boy, John Brown saw many slave owners. He witnessed families being torn apart, sold as though they were cattle. Memories of childhood can burn forever in a person's mind. As a young boy, John Brown saw many slave auctions. He witnessed families being torn apart, sold as though they were cattle. These impressions undoubtedly stayed with John Brown throughout his life and became the foundations for his hatred of slavery.
Present, Mary.
Here at the Kennedy farmhouse, John Brown prepared for his play on Harper's Ferry. His plan was to steal guns from the United States arsenal located there. With these guns, John Brown planned to arm escaped slaves and help them set up a refuge in the Virginia mountains. Behind you is the Harper's Ferry train station the evening of the raid. Ironically, the first person to be killed by the raiding party was a freed slave, Shepherd.
I think the first one to go. I think it's
townspeople and held them hostage in the small Harper's Ferry engine house. The next day, federal troops under the command of Robert E. Lee arrived in the troubled town and surrounded the engine house. Brown wouldn't surrender, and the decision was made to storm the buildings and take Brown and his men by force. U.S. Marines led by Lieutenant Green smashed their way in and quickly overcame Brown and his men. Here, John Brown, himself wounded by a saber slash, supports his dying son, Oliver.
Nothing to see.
See what time I got.
All you see is
No, it's Saturday.
That's one that's sticking there and the candy.
That looks so real. Let me see.
She doesn't really get sad, does she?
You have just seen a series of depicting highlights of the controversial life of John Brown. The true character of John Brown is as much an enigma today as it was when he attacked Harper's Ferry with a handful of men. And as it was at the moment he set foot on the gallows at Charlestown and waited with majestic serenity for the drop in return. One thing is indisputable. John Brown was motivated by pure idealism. He wanted to free black people of this nation, to lift the sin of slavery from the conscience of America. His soul moved marching on.
David, you said that they were really Daddy, they're shooting muskets. Dad, they're shooting muskets. Can we just watch them?
A nice echo down through the river gap. And as you hear that echo, I want you to think about a few things we talked about here today. I want you to think about the craftsmen who came here in the early history of this town. The craftsmen who built this town, who built this factory, who built these guns with their own hands. I want you to think about John Hall and his new ideas, his new inventions. I want you to think about the struggle between the craftsmen and the mechanics, the struggle between the old and the new. And most of all, I want you to think about the Industrial Revolution, because when I was in high school, they taught me that the Industrial Revolution happened in this country in the 1870s and 1880s, after the Civil War. And they usually talk about places over in Europe, England and France. Well, I'll tell you that the Industrial Revolution did not happen in this country in the 1870s and 1880s. It was happening in this country in the 1820s, 1830s, and 1840s, and a lot of it was happening here in Harper's Ferry. John Hall is right. That's a technological ancestor to the wristwatches on your wrist, the cameras around your neck. That's the reason today that if you need a spark plug or a fan belt for your car, you can go to an automotive shop and buy a part that'll fit that car every time. Interchangeable parts. It's achieved first here by John Hall.
Our dad will make it. That way. You know how long it takes to live on them things? Yeah, I've shot one. I saw how he's doing things. Oh, it's just the ball.
Again, I'll give you 3 commands. Ready? 8. 5. I'd like to thank you all for coming along with me this afternoon. If you all have any questions, I'll be here for a few minutes. I'll be happy to talk your ear off if you give me half a chance. If not, please enjoy the rest of your day.
I'm up here. Wait for me, wait for me.
Where you at, you guys? Stand right in the front. Stand right in front. Stand like that. Stand like that. That name almost so smile.
You guys stay here till the day's over?
One more. Okay, one more.
One more with Mary back. Can you stay here? Hello. Hi, Michael. Hey, Tom. Hey, Ann. Hey, Steve.
Don't do that. That goes down. Goes down at the
Hey, cousins.
You're good,
Hey, Mike. Hey, Joyce.
We're only missing one person.
Hey, Tom.
Okay, now I can.
Him on a mission.
Who's on the camp?
Is that it?
Yeah, it's Peggy 66.
Rebuilt in 1910, huh?
Uh-huh. What do you do? Don't touch the, see that stuff seeping out of the timbers?
Yeah, that.
No, that's creosote. It will burn you and there's no way to get it off.
Where? What?
Oh, you think go up there?
Watch for the tree. Dad, what are timbers?
The wood? Yeah. So the original site is that hole over there.
Well, it's been moved all around, hasn't it?
Made its way around the country. So it was actually just a fire.
Was he a real,
Yeah.
a real famous man?
See this?
He was a rebel then.
Well, he
He
wasn't your conventional Southerner.
Hey, he wasn't a good guy then, was he?
Well, it depends on what side you're on. In fact, if we go back through Charlestown, you'll see where the town Charlestown's kind of interesting too. What's that about? How'd you do it?
I don't know, don't ask me.
Oh, that felt good.
Some of the brick that's along the canal.
Huh?
See where the brick canal is made?
And now we get into the muck.
Can't see any of it. Close that window for me.
We could still go to Monassis. We're still going to Monassis. I know. I didn't know what that stuff was. I was like, what is that?
What side?
No turnover in.
Where's my mom?
In the back of us.
Where?
They're kind of cute.
I know, yeah. Where did they go? Oh, you mean the car back there with the antenna on? It's parking inside the road. Yeah. We do, I don't. Please,
I'll think about it.
please, please, please.
Seriously, think about it.
Please.
Maybe.
Please.
Oh, hell, okay. See, I told you guys it would work.
You get a P. I. You already have P. I know, sorry. PPI. P. I. P. We don't have any. P. Yeah. P. Peppy. Yeah. No one's like me. Hi. Peppy. Hi. Hi.
Okay, it's off.
Play poker. Play poker. Hi. Hi. Oh yeah, Perry. Hi. We're playing a card game. I'm winning. No, I am. Come on, dealer. Switch. Wait. No, card switch. Wait. Let's shoot. Yay. Switch. Wait. I won. Yeah, it was him. It was you. Okay. One card. Hello. We're playing a card game called Tea. I'm waiting. Yes, it is. Sean. Hey, Mike, it's John, and it's Steve, and Joe. Hi. Hi, Kathy. Hi,
Neville.
Hi, Mike. Hi, Steve. Hi, Tom. Hi, Joe. Hi, Ian. Tell me you're letting her make her own. How you doing? Bernie went on. Bernie? What do? You drain your noodles? Yeah. And then what do? You just put that stuff on top? Put that cheese on it. Just put it on top of the hot things or mix it up? Okay. How much pain will you get with me in my eyes?
You know what this is? She's a dork. She's a dork. She's a real dork. David. She's a real dork. A real dork. A real dork. I mean a dork.
Isn't he sweet?
Show your hands up.
Just remember, PJ.
Did you ever see
When you're 18, you're gonna want to take his film
Did you see
and
Rosemary's
burn
Baby?
it.
I know.
Did you see Rosemary's Baby? No. You didn't see it?
She won't let me watch it.
She wore a thing around her neck that looked like this, and it had tannis root in it, which was some kind of evil thing. My mother had a necklace like this. She had earrings too. And she had it for years and years. It was a perfume thing. You stick a thing in there. So whenever I'd wear it, people would say, "Oh my God, you got Rosemary's Baby thing on."
These.
What'd you do with this? Is the one I bought
That's
you.
the extent of our
Collection.
repertoire that's worth looking at.
There.
Oh, Paul gave me a kiss. And a kiss.
Oh, how romantic. Boy, you are a good.
The unknown soldier. You accidentally. Yeah. Unknown soldier. I guess you accidentally took it out. Yeah, he was the unknown soldier. Are you done? Are you done? I'm gonna stop now. Bye. Hi Joe, hi Tom, hi Mike, hi Ian, hi Kathy. Hello, it's me, Scott. Hi Piggy. I'm playing war with guys. See?
Trying to get it in the sea. Safety need a nice play. He sure did.
And here's some others. Bushmaster.
Hi, Paul.
Hi. Hi. Hi, anybody. Look at my hand.
Okay.
Okay, that's good. My arm's getting killed. I'm gonna win. My parents don't teach me.
They just tightened up those fingers.
Oh, yeah, dude. They don't teach me. Right back. Right down the sideline. My parents don't teach me. I don't teach. Mommy, Daddy, that's my friend now.
I don't know how I got
Give him a pile driver.
Hi, Mike.
Say it again.
James. We're entertaining everybody.
Take a picture of your mom. They're not saying anything. Go walk in there and take a picture of your mother. Hurry, what while she's doing her purse.
Yeah, get her while she's doing it.
Jimmy's. Jeez, Louise.
See what you started?
Yeah.
God. No, we can blame it on Grandpa.
Buy it real slow.
Piggy, are you kidding?
Ready?
Yeah.
See if you can focus on it as far as even if you have to get, if you have to move in or out with it. You get it?
$3.
No. We don't want to know that.
Children, $1.
All right, I'm a children.
I might have to get it when we come out, Mom.
Okay.
Well, we don't need Remember, they tell me I go too fast.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Enough.
Yeah. I just press off.
Or you're supposed to press fade.
Why?
Good day.
The air conditioner's on.
What is this?
Good question.
You don't have to tuck.
Okay, we'll begin the tour now. Welcome to Sully. This was the home built by Richard Bland Lee in 1794. His father was patenting the land in 1725. It was 1,311 acres. Richard wanted to become a landowner, and so when his father deeded him this land, he was able to run for Congress. He was the first congressman from Northern Virginia. As a congressman, he would have gone to New York and then to Philadelphia. It was in Philadelphia that he met Elizabeth Collins Lee, who was the daughter of a Quaker merchant. And he married her and brought her back here. He had intended to build his house in the traditional Virginia architecture. That would have been with the central hall with 2 wings, symmetrical wings. He built from this wall over to the west there. But anyway, this was built as a story and a half in 1799. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. During the summer, as you'll notice, we have cheesecloth over the gloves and over the mirrors. That was to keep the insects off of it so it wouldn't damage it, and also it lightened the housekeeping. All the floors in the house are 90% original. There was a home that was demolished when the Dulles Airport acquired this, when the Fairfax County Park Authority acquired the land and the Dulles Airport was going to be built, they demolished a house called Leeton, which was nearby here. They retained all of the materials so that they could use it in historical homes to replace things that needed to be replaced. And some of the replacements came from that time.
Yeah.
Lincoln was furnished in the Empire period, which lasted from about 1709 to 1820. The dining room was the most important room in the house and was the largest. Here they had their main meal, which was served between 2 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's set up pretty much as it would have been during that time. It was a 2-course meal. Some of this china belonged to the Lee family, the big bowl down there, the blue one, and this platter. This is called, it's Chinese export porcelain. It was called the Canton pattern. We have documentation that Elizabeth ordered the ivory handle cutlery with the green dye, which would resemble jade. This is very much in vogue in that period. She also received 9 boxes as well as clothes. They would have stored it in that because during that period the silver was softer than it is today, so it would have bent easily, so it was stored that way. It was also kept in lock and key. And because of the way it's arranged, they can keep count on it better. The teaspoons on the sideboard belong to over here we have a pent cover, it's called. It's built between the 2 chimneys. The chimneys are over 3 stories high, so this was a way of supporting the chimney, topped over whatever agricultural or political matters that might have been questions of the day. They would have had a pianoforte because Elizabeth was very interested in music and wanted the children to have an exposure to it as well. This is not the one that belonged to them. It's from a little bit later period than the one that they would have owned. Here again we have, the mirrors are covered. They would have played cards in here as well, and this is set up for that. There are 2 pieces of furniture, well, there's more than 2, but this sofa, the camelback sofa, belonged to Elizabeth. It was part of her dowry. Also the sewing table. It was in a green fabric. We have that documented in some letters that she wrote to her father because he was the one who did a lot of the purchasing of the furniture for the home. Some of it is into the wall about halfway. It would have provided support, of course, and also would have maybe had practical utilization and it kept fingerprints off the wall. This is called Cornelia's room. The reason we call it that is she etched her name and the date over here in Schlingo. Also, there's a later resident here, Addie Shear, who lived here in the 1890s. And there's other initials here that probably was a friend of Addie's, I'm not sure. The reason we called it, well, let me give you a little background. Addie, Cornelia was a ward of Richard Bland Lynn's wife. She and her sister Portia were cousins, and they had been orphaned, and their parents had lived in Europe, and they came back, and it was customary. Some of the family would take the girls. They were teenagers, and they were, quite good company for Elizabeth, who was living out in the boonies, you might say, after Philadelphia. And she helped they looked after the children, and this is set up as it would have been used with a writing desk, which was they would have done a lot of, and they would have done a lot of reading up here. They were quite well read. They also would have done a lot of sewing. This is the original sampler that Cornelia did, which was 6, and this is a reproduction. Some of you you may have seen shoes like this. They didn't have a right and left elastic until about the 1860s, so they would have made these shoes so that they would have been interchangeable. The ladies like to have long, slender feet, so they wouldn't have made different sizes. They would just stuff these to fit the foot.
That's pretty neat now, you know, so.
They would have rearranged the furniture in the summer because to give them more room, because in the winter they would have had to move this around some. There would have been a trundle bed underneath the master bed. This would have been used for the children, and also if they had a sick child, this would have been an easier way to check on them. The mirror here belonged to Richard Blandley Jr., who was born here about 1797. They would have had a deed box to have kept their important papers in. This was always kept in their window. So in case of fire, it didn't run out, because that would have been the proof of ownership. And these are typical clothing that would have been, you know, the male members of the during that period. You may have noticed throughout the house the doors are made of pine, but they're feathered to look like exotic woods such as mahogany in this case, and also they would have used walnuts and some other grain effects. That's for the air conditioner.
I wondered where the air conditioner was coming from.
Women in the house
Andy has a pair of old glasses.
would have been making clothes for the and they would have used that in the winter to put their plates in, close the store, push it to the box plates, and it would have warmed them.
Yeah, that's good.
Little tree, porta potty.
Little rocker like ours, Mom. Little rocker like ours.
Where's the fireplace, Dad?
This is on the top. It's over there.
The Quaker family had employed a school teacher. It was common as the new wing that was built in 1799. There would have been a stairwell there that would have gone through the two rooms where it actually had a partition there, and they were taken out in about 1940. But Richard Blandley would have had an office down there, and he could have gotten up to the living quarters through that door. But it made a nice access for the schoolroom when it was used for that reason. Over in the corner you have a wall tray, a hat tray, and on it is a hat that belonged to Mr. Haight, which he allegedly wore to Lincoln's inauguration. As you'll notice, the map over here is from about 1844, and it was before West Virginia was a state. And on the outside of it, on the borders, you'll notice that they have pictures of the cities. We thought that maybe Rand McNally may have devised that little thing for all of his atlases to give you something about the main cities.
Interesting.
Of course, you still had the Indian Territory, and some of the states are a little bit different from what they are now. We had some people in here who was looking at Idaho just recently. You can see that. On Thursdays, during the school year, this is used by the Fairfax County school system, and they bring their fourth graders out here to give them an exposure to what life was during the late 18th century. We room there at Twins desk, and overhead there are living quarters for the cook. The cook would have been up very early, like before 6 o'clock, so that she could have had coffee, tea, a light breakfast for the people in the house. They would have had a lot of cooking going on here all day long because of the number of people that they would have been serving and the vast variety of foods that would have been prepared. There would have also been a lot of preserving in the summer, and we're doing pickled peaches this month. In the fireplace, they have the stone floors because they would have wanted different temperatures for the different meals they would have been cooking. So oftentimes they would have brought the fire out on the stone so that it needs high temperature. These are all typical of the utensils that would have been used. Here you have a soapstone sink that has a drain in it, and this is original to the building. And out here to the west of us, they would have had a kitchen and herb garden that would have been for the members of the household. Any questions? They had several different kinds of irons and pressing boards, as you see here. The wooden piece down there on the end of the mantle was used to put the wagon, the grease in, put it on the wagons. And we have candle molds. This was a piece that they would have worn to carry with them when they were on a trip. They would have put their feet to keep their feet in. So they made their own potpourri, pomander balls, and all that sort of thing. Here's the stairs to get upstairs quarters. Okay, we'll go back out and we'll go into those other two defenses. You can go back that way.
House, it's over there.
Oh, you. I thought everybody. I already got a picture of that.
Even though it doesn't look big.
Your guided tour off the back patio at this time. A 30-minute walk and discussion covering some of the highlights of the Battle of First Monassis, the first major land engagement of the United States War. You can join the range by simply going through the glass doors next to the Visitor Center information desk.
Huh?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, two events occurring after
Look how the shoulders turned out.
It was fire than in it too. Oh, look at that horn. Look at the size. Mary, look at that horn. These are like 24 magnums. Look at this board. Look at these. These are like 44 magnums. Jeez. 44 magnums are big. Look at that. No, stir. 44 magnums are smaller, I think. Girls bigger.
That looks like it belongs to Africa.
I did not think
Number 2 is what?
What do they call it? Private.
What do you call these?
Wait,
Looks like he just crawled out of bed.
It's his uniform. See the surgeon just told them?
Yeah.
That's just an awful lot right here.
But in the picture, he doesn't look that way.
Does it say? Look in the saw, Mary. Someone shot at him in the saw. There's a different kind of fan. What do we? Ooh, I love that song. What's that to do?
That's for amputation.
How do you know that?
That's all his stuff. Yeah, there was a lot of that. There's a lot of guys dancing it. There's very few made.
Nails. Jeez. Gosh, Mary. Ooh, cool.
Yeah, that was something.
That was cool.
Did you get a real good picture of that drum?
Cut your leg off.
Like up close and far away?
Yeah.
Where do you want that? You want to be right by it, where you make it close up, where you get a straight shot. Close up and far away.
Then, 2 more Union brigades under Sherman and Keyes crossed Bull Run to join the Union attack. But more Confederates were on the way. General Jackson's brigade rushed toward Henry Hill. They established a strong defensive line along the southern edge of the hill, just as the Confederates north of the turnpike retreated. Union victory seemed certain. Then, Confederate Generals Johnston and Beauregard galloped up, and the Confederates began to rally along Jackson's line. After pausing momentarily to regroup, the Federals renewed the attack, and the fight for Henry Hill, key to victory, raged furiously. Unable to break through on Henry Hill, Federal Commander McDowell stopped the attack long enough to move reinforcements toward Chin Ridge in order to attack the Confederate left. But fresh Confederate reinforcements racing toward the fight smashed this attack. The Confederate attack pushed the Federals off Chin Ridge. The Union defenses suddenly crumbled. Men started to retreat. The retreat became a rout and then a panic as the undisciplined Union Army fled toward Washington. The Confederates, exhausted and disorganized, were unable to pursue effectively. The First Battle of Monassis was over.
Did they get a map? It says follow the map. You can't follow the map if you ain't got one.
I can't see anything.
I'll do that.
I mean, they can't see either. You're
Here,
like,
I'll do that.
okay, so the stone house is number 1.
That's number 2.
That's where
Battery
the
Heights.
they're not going there.
That's not number 1.
That's number 2.
24,000 men lay menacingly behind the unfinished railroad, only a cannon shot away.
Soaking wet.
Stonewall eyed them intently for a few moments and decided that this was his opportunity to bring folks to battle. He wheeled and returned to his office.
Was it nice?
Bring up your men, gentlemen, he said simply. Second battle of Monassis was about to begin.
Here's what they had in the house.
Short-range troop Confederate artillery.
Many friends of the wounded and the dead were wandering about the field.
To reach second point.
Confederate alike. Several of his northern colleagues were deeply offended by his promotion over them. Others, like George McClellan and his faithful subordinates in the Army of the Potomac, saw Polk's rapid rise as a threat to their own authority. This problem was made even worse when several of them
Taking into consideration the whereabouts of Longstreet's wing of Lee Vernon. General confusion. The commanding general did not learn of the snafu until that evening. In the meantime, he waited anxiously, expecting at any minute to hear the roar of guns that would signal that the flank attack had begun. Meanwhile, the futile frontal assaults, never intended to be decisive on their own, continued in all their fury. Although some of these assaults were unbelievably bold and violent, they were ultimately a useless loss of lives.
Unfortunately, time and geography prevented us from taking them to the site of which two Federal attacks made on the 29th. But the next two stops will bring us to the location.
Come on in.
That's David over there.
David.
Shh. Don't say a word. Scott. I mean it, Scott.
Oh, he looks a little crabby. What's the problem here?
These meds and Daddy chased him out of the room.
I am.
Jeez.
Go soak your head in a bucket of
You'll
water.
listen to me, won't you, next time?
When we went adults in here, we went adults in here.
Happy birthday to
Not
you.
yet.
Go ahead, sing out.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear David. Happy birthday to you.
And then many more.
Blow.
Come on.
Come on, David. Okay, stop. Stop your candles, guys. What happened?
What did it say?
Woo!
Hey, Big Mom.
No.
You have the
Come on, get those out, David.
Come on, Dave.
Come on, Dave.
You're not getting your wish.
I guess no skateboard for you, huh?
Oh, boy.
Did you actually blow them out?
I saw those. I thought they were so cute.
Matter,
You
Dave?
don't blow
Do you see how they have little sparkle things like sparklers?
Yeah.
Aren't they pretty? Let them go on.
Little
Let them go on.
gunpowder.
They all but one.
Siffe's starting again. PJ, would you stop it?
This one is never
Leave it alone.
It'll never light.
Now let's see if they all come on.
Is it your cake?
No.
Keep your hands off.
Let's see.
Fire alarm's
Let's
gonna
see.
go
Nope, it's the only one. Wait a second, watch this. Okay? Get it out like this.
PJ.
All right. They never saw that.
She wants to see what she did wrong last night.
Well, you can go 31 to 119 will be the easiest.
Yeah,
You
get
can go right
off,
through
Donnie.
Mount Pleasant.
Hi, camera.
straight
Hey, Joe likes it, but we don't want those. So
Oh, it's
Joe
on?
likes
Who-
it.
I didn't even press it.
It's on.
Well, someone didn't have it off.
You
Right,
right,
Mary?
I gave them away. I asked everybody who liked them, nobody likes them. I'll send you some for Christmas, okay?
I can't cut them out.
Now remember, right?
Yeah.
Don't forget to
Right,
cut
There's
it.
something in the back.
Don't forget to
Nothing,
come
just
out
cut-
there.
Just don't cut the little ones.
If you go as
Lou,
far
what
as
are you
Turkey,
doing?
you can go as far as
I was
the
gonna
coast.
cut it.
Remember that.
That's right. Don't you forget that.
More than down the other one.
Are you hungry? After the tour. I'm not being there.
Good morning. May I have your attention, please? You are invited to join Elizabeth Thorne, an 1863 resident of Gettysburg, as she recounts her experiences of the Battle of
This attacking forces. This clump of trees and many other features of the landscape are still to be seen today. On the day of Pickett's charge, the Union line ran from the round tops, which you see there on your left in the spotlight, past the clump of trees and along the crest of the ridge in front of you. But as you see it now, there is nothing that even resembles an orderly defensive line. For the impact of Pickett's charge has just turned it into a chaos of smoke, death, and destruction. The Confederates had come toward us from all the way across that enormous field, nearly a mile from the woods in the background. And as they marched across that field, they made a sight that no one who was there would ever forget. Nearly 15,000 soldiers on a front nearly a mile from end to end, coming on in line after line of battle. It was Pickett's division and parts of two other divisions, men of Virginia, Tennessee, North Carolina, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, moving steadily with the crimson flags of the Confederacy flashing above them in the sun. They were under Union artillery fire most of the way, and as they passed those Cadore buildings and came up the slope in front of you, the Union artillerymen changed to canister. Cans of iron balls fired like giant shotgun shells and tearing ranks apart with a hail of death. So by now, as you see them, the regular formations of Confederate brigades and regiments have almost disappeared.
He to study the battlefield and interview eyewitnesses of Pickett's charge. In 1884, he and his associates completed this giant painting. more than 100 yards in circumference and 26 feet high. The painting was first shown in Boston. It was brought to Gettysburg in 1913. This presentation of the Gettysburg cyclorama is one of the recreations of our nation's history, made available to you by the National Park Service of the United States Department of the Interior.
Big Round Top and Little Round Top. And of course, beneath Little Round Top would be the Devil's Den, the Valley of Death area. Now, Little Round Top is strategically much more important than Big Round Top because prior to the Battle of Gettysburg, the very densely wooded area was cleared out. And of course, the guns at the time were not the most accurate or easy to fire, and because of the cleared out trees, they were given a better, well, view to which to shoot with. So Little Round Top became much more strategically important. If we move to the left, we have Culp's Hill. And if we keep moving to the left and down, there's a man on a white horse. Can anyone see that? That's General George Gordon Meade, who was the leader of the Army of the Potomac. And he took over the Army only 3 days prior to the Battle of Gettysburg from General Fighting Joe Hooker. By the way, Meade's horse is depicted here as being white, but pictures have shown it to be he was either a dark chestnut brown or a very black colored horse. Does anyone know what Meade's horse's name was? Everyone knows Lee is Traveler, but few know that Baldy was the name of Meade's horse. We move a little bit over to the left here. Right down here, we have the Leicester Farmhouse. Now, this building still exists today, and if you go out the front doors of the Cyclorama Center and go about 100 yards, you'll come across it, and you're very much encouraged to go down and take a look. This was owned by the widow Leicester, who was a civilian at Gettysburg, who fled prior to the battle. And this here is where Meade set up headquarters, and it was on July 2nd, 1863, that evening, which Meade held his council of war, and where all the generals decided they were going to stay and fight it out on the third day, whatever may happen. Come down a little farther, we see a figure being carried to an aid station. Many people have commented that this mortally wounded man bears a striking resemblance to Abraham Lincoln. If we go up and to the left a little more, we have a grove of trees right here. This is Dietler's Grove, and this is where you're standing approximately right now. This is the location of the Cyclorama Center. To the left of the grove and right here, although not depicted on the painting, is where the town of Gettysburg lies. If I can take it further, almost all the way to what we'll call the front of the painting. It's in this area right here that General Lee, head of the Confederacy, witnessed the massacre, or what he could see as the massacre of Pickett's Charge. There was so much infantry, so much artillery firing that basically all he could witness was nothing but clouds of smoke. And it wasn't until those clouds of smoke cleared that he realized what had happened to a large chunk of his Confederate army. Corresponding to being called Pickett's Charge, people do ask, where is Pickett? Well, if we move to the left, right where the Cadore barns are, there's a man on a black horse. It's very difficult to see, but it's right in that area there. And that is where General Pickett witnessed the massacre of his division. One other man I'd like to point out to you before you leave of interest. We're going to go all the way to the right 3/4. And he's under this tree right here. Can everyone see what the light is? He's a dashing Union officer. Red beard, sword on his knee. He looks quite cool, calm, collect. I guess you would be too, because this man was never here for Pickett's Charge. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to the artist, Mr. Bill Coteau, and rather than designing the painting, he decided he was going to put himself right in the middle of things. And that was quite a common thing to do in the 1800s when the cycloramas came out, to make yourself preserved for history by putting yourself right there. The house lights will stay up for a little while longer. Please feel free to browse and take a closer look at the painting. If there's any questions you have, please come forward and ask, and I can see if I can answer them for you. And if not, please enjoy the rest of your stay here at Gettysburg Military Park. Thank you.
This is Brian's house.
Well, we're going this way.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'm going backwards.
South Mountain. No, South Mountain.
Well, this is Cashtown Pass, South Mountain.
I don't get that.
North Carolina Memorial, 3/4 mile. Virginia Memorial, 7/8 mile. Monterey Pass, South Mountains, 10 miles. Cordy House, 700 yards. Peach Orchard, 1 1/4 mile. COPSE, Copse of Trees, High Water Mark, 1/4 mile. Round Tops, 1 3/4 mile. I don't know. Maybe Grant.
Oh, look at me.
You've never saw it either, have you? Well, you had no transportation at that time.
That was the biggest problem.
That's your biggest problem.
In the whole high school, you had about 6 kids that had a car, besides teachers.
Yeah, well, they took buses, didn't they, at that time?
Yeah, that's about the only way you could run.
Cemetery Hill, 1/4 mile. Culp's Mill, 3/4 mile. Wolf Hill, 1 1/2 miles. Meade's Headquarters, 200 yards. Be someplace around here. And Powers Mill, 1 1/4
That's that building down there. That's that building right down there. That white one, yeah. Where all those graves are.
It says Meade's Headquarters.
Yeah, we don't see it.
The last one I gave you. Oh, you'll have my voice there.
Right.
Now, what about here?
What does it say? California or bust? Oh.
Beach Club.
Tour guide. Well, there's a tour guide. I don't want, you could walk with him, but I don't want. I'll sit downstairs.
On June 27th, we took place with this gentleman here, George Gordon Meade, became commander of the Army of the Potomac. We'll meet. duty to come out and put down the rebellion that was sweeping over the land. Well, the men at Cushing's battery hadn't seen too much action in the Battle of Gettysburg up till the morning of July 3rd. On the evening of the 2nd, about 1,300 Confederates would come up out of the south here. Cushing's battery would fire a few rounds at them until they disappeared back down in the woods. The Cushing's gunners were lounging about their pieces, waiting to see what would happen next, when those 2 cannon shots came from the Confederate lines. The men at Cushing's battery began to spring for their posts at their cannons. But what came next was what man described as nearly a volcanic roar. It's about 150 cannons that General Lee had put over there on Seminary Ridge opened fire on this point right here. And to that roar was soon added the roar of 80 to 100 Union cannons as they shot back at the Confederates. And for the next 2 hours, this little valley here would be filled with solid shot and bursting shells. 2 armies sought to knock out each other's artillery. Well, General Lee had hoped for this cannonade to last only about 15 or 20 minutes before we would send pickets men across. But the only way you can tell how strong a position is by what's flying back at you. What was going back over there was pretty strong. So the cannonade began to last almost 2 hours, and the Confederates began to run out of ammunition. Well, the commander of the Confederate artillery, a man by the name of E.T. Alexander, sent a note to General Pickett, and he said, "Go now, or I can't support you with the ammunition I have left." Well, Pickett was racing his commander, a man by the name of James Longstreet, and he asked Longstreet for permission to make the attack. Longstreet could only look at the ground and nod in silence when he gave Pickett permission to go, for he knew that the cannonade hadn't done anything to the Union lines over here. What they were hoping was that the Confederate artillery fire would just blow a hole right through the Union lines here. All Pickett's men would have to do then would be come across and mop up the survivors that were here. At first, the Confederate fire had been very accurate. Cushing's battery here had suffered very heavily. Most of his gunners were dead or wounded about his pieces. But eventually the Confederates began to overshoot and hit on the back side of the ridge there, where there really wasn't anything except for wagon trains and reserves. And that's what damaged the front lines Pickett's men were later to hit. Well, Pickett was ordering his men forward. His men had taken heavy casualties for the Union fire. There's a story of the 11th Virginia. The lieutenant colonel of that regiment heard a lookout, and he looked up just in time to receive a cannonball straight in the face that would kill him. Others of Pickett's men would be hit in the head by tree branches that would be knocked off as the cannonballs passed through the woods back there and be knocked out by those. It was also very hot, and some of Pickett's men were laying out there in the sun in their wool uniforms. When Pickett's men got up to move forward, they discovered some of their comrades had sunstroke and couldn't go any farther. But Pickett had no idea that the artillery fire wasn't doing anything to the Union lines over here. He began to order his men forward when he got another note from Alexander. And it said, "Go now, the 18 Union guns are gone." What Alexander was doing was keeping track of some artillery pieces you can see here on Cemetery Ridge through the smoke. He saw Union cannon moving about, and he thought, aha, the cannonade's done what it's supposed to and driven the Union forces off this hill here. But that wasn't true. The commander of the Union artillery, a man by the name of Henry Hunt, was ordering the damaged cannons to be withdrawn, with new cannons brought up and put in their places. So by the time Pickett's men would come across, what they were facing wasn't damaged artillery that had shot all of its ammunition, but in some cases, cannons that hadn't fired a shot throughout the 2 days of the Battle of Gettysburg. Well, Pickett had no idea that that was happening, so he ordered his men forward, and he gave them a bit of advice as he ordered them forward. He said, "Boys, I have no orders for you, but it's my advice to you that you get across that field as quick as you can. From my opinion, you're going to catch hell." Well, in the 11th Virginia down there, one man jumped to his feet and yelled out, "Come on, boys, let's go drive those infernal Yankees off that hill there." And as the Union line here watched on, from out of those woods came nearly 15,000 Confederates and began marching towards this point here. What was to happen to them? Move on over here and we'll talk about that. So any questions? And Cushing himself was killed as the Confederates came over the wall. Shot first through the abdomen, and then as he was falling, he was shot through the mouth and killed instantly and fell across the end of one of his pieces there. For the 69th here, they are outflanked. They had the end of their line turned about. You'll see the company markers here, the company markers being the low concrete markers on either side of the main monument. There are 10 companies of about 25 men each. Well, the first 2 companies up there on the right saw the Confederates coming. They managed to pull themselves back and continue shooting at the Confederates. But the 3rd Company and Company F had its captain killed as the Confederates were coming over the wall, and as he was trying to pull his men back, Well, the Confederates got behind the men of Company F, and almost to a man, they were forced over the wall to point at Confederate bayonets and made prisoners. The 4th Company in was Company D, and Company D had just a little more time to react before the Confederates would overrun them. They managed to turn themselves to the right and turn their muskets around like baseball bats, like you see the monument up there. They would swing those against Confederates coming through their lines. Well, one of the men in Company D was Corporal Bradley. Corporal Bradley was known as a large and powerful man. He had felled several Confederates with the end of his musket before he was finally overpowered and had his skull crushed by the Confederates. Down here trying to pull his men out of the trap they were getting themselves sewn into when he was shot twice to the chest, and Colonel O'Kane would die later that night. But for the men of the 69th, they looked behind them, and coming up over the backside of the ridge came the 72nd Pennsylvania. And for the Confederates in this area here, they weren't to last too much longer. And what was to happen to them? Let's move on over here to the tree and we'll talk about that. You're welcome to. Wasn't a nice peaceful area with the nicely mown grass and the monuments. When the battle was raging here, it was a swirling mass of fighting men as they shot, stabbed, and clubbed one another and tried to drive each other's lines out of this area here. For these 150 Confederates up here, they weren't to last too much longer after they made it over the wall here. From the backside of the ridge came the 72nd Pennsylvania. When they reached the top of the ridge, they fired one volley into those Confederates there, and with that volley fell Lewis Armistead. You'll see a little scroll marker up there marked with the Confederate flag. That there marks the spot where Armistead fell, shot through the left arm and left leg. And as he fell, he tried to reach out his good arm and lay it on one of Cushing's guns and say, "This gun is mine," before he fell flat on his face in the middle of the field. Cushing would be captured later that day and taken back to a Union field hospital, where he would die 2 days later from his wounds and exhaustion. And for the Confederates here, nearly all of them would be killed or captured where they stood, but not all of them. Captain Spessard, the man with the wounded son out here in the field, had also made it up to this point. He is seen in the middle just swinging his sword about him and laying Yankees low with every swing that he would take. It finally took 3 Yankees to jump on top of him and tear his sword out of his hand and force him to surrender. But he wasn't about to leave his son out here in the middle of the field unattended, and so instead of surrendering, he reached down and grabbed a couple of rocks that were laying about and threw them at his captors until he drove them off. Then he turned around, ran back, jumped over the wall, and ran for the rear, and lived. He would later gather Ezekiel up and take him back to a field hospital, where Ezekiel would die from his wounds 2 weeks later. But for the Confederates here, they began to lose all organization. Pickett and his men divided up into 3 brigades with about 4,000 men each. Each of those brigades would have been commanded by a general. By the time they got here, all 3 of those generals were dead or wounded. He had 15 regiments in his division, and in command of those 15